Today's story holds a special place in my heart, as I'm going to share an experience that changed my life. My very first flight, all the way to Paris. This isn't just a recount of events, it's a journey of discovery. I'll guide you through the whole process, from the nervous excitement of packing to the wonder of exploring a new city alone. By the end, you'll feel as though you were right there with me, and you'll have a complete guide to flying solo for the first time. I know many of you might feel anxious about traveling by yourselves, especially on an international flight, but I promise to walk you through everything. We'll cover what to pack, how to navigate airport formalities, security checks, boarding, and all the little details that first-time travelers should know. This is going to be an incredible adventure, full of fun and new lessons. So, let's begin. My name is Nick, and this trip was more than just a vacation for me. Everyone enjoys traveling, but my journey felt extraordinary because it was my first time on a plane, heading to my ultimate dream destination, Paris. Paris, the capital of France, is one of the most enchanting cities on Earth, a place brimming with history, romance, and culture. It's known as the most romantic city in the world, celebrated for its exquisite food, world-class museums, high fashion, and of course, the magnificent Eiffel Tower. I had spent years dreaming of visiting Paris, imagining myself strolling along the Seine River, browsing luxury boutiques, and sitting in a charming little cafe with a fresh croissant and a warm cup of coffee. Finally, that dream was becoming a reality. But before I could set foot in Paris, I had to face a challenge I had never encountered before, taking my first flight. My day began in the early hours of the morning, with a whirlwind of excitement and nerves. The very first thing I did was recheck my packing. Packing for a flight is crucial because airlines have very strict regulations. I had 2 pieces of luggage: my checked bag, which was the large suitcase destined for the airplane's cargo hold, and my carry-on bag, a smaller bag I could bring with me into the cabin. The airline had specific weight limits: 23 kilograms for my large suitcase and 7 kilograms for my carry-on. I had packed my clothes, shoes, toiletries, and other necessities. Then, just as I was about to leave for the airport, a wave of panic washed over me. I had forgotten my medication. For a moment, my heart sank, but I took a deep breath and calmed myself down, remembering a useful fact: airports have pharmacies. So, if you ever forget something essential like medicine, don't worry. You can almost always find it at the airport. With everything sorted, I gathered my passport, visa, tickets, and some cash in both dollars and euros. It's always a good idea to carry some local currency when you travel, as not every shop accepts credit cards, and currency exchange rates at the airport are usually much higher. I booked a taxi, and as I sat in the car, watching the city lights blur past my window, my heart pounded with anticipation. This was actually happening. When I stepped into the airport, I was met by a massive, brightly lit terminal buzzing with travelers from every corner of the globe. Huge digital screens displayed flight schedules, people hurried along with their luggage, families shared emotional goodbyes, and airport staff guided passengers. It felt like I had entered an entirely new world. My first task was to check in. I found my airline's counter, presented my passport and ticket, and in return received my boarding pass. My checked suitcase was weighed and then disappeared on a conveyor belt on its way to the plane. A quick tip: if your luggage is overweight, you'll face extra fees, so it's wise to check the weight before you leave home. Next up was the part that had made me slightly anxious, the security check. This is a mandatory screening where all passengers and their carry-on luggage are checked for safety. I placed my handbag, phone, laptop, and jacket into a tray. An officer then asked me to remove my watch, belt, and shoes. I was a bit surprised, but I saw everyone else doing the same thing. So if this happens to you, don't feel awkward. It's a standard procedure for everyone. I walked through the security scanner without any issues. But remember, sharp items like scissors, liquids in containers over 100 ml, and even water bottles are not permitted in your carry-on luggage. After clearing security, I proceeded to immigration. Here, officials inspect your passport, visa, and other travel documents. The officer asked me a few simple questions: the purpose of my trip to Paris, where I would be staying, and my planned return date. I answered with confidence, and he stamped my passport. With all my documents in order, I had some free time before my flight was scheduled to board. I decided to explore the airport, which turned out to be one of the most enjoyable parts of the experience. The airport was like a small city in itself. There were luxury shops, diverse restaurants, bookstores, and even lounges for relaxation. I browsed a duty-free shop, marveling at perfumes, chocolates, and high-end brands offered at lower, tax-free prices. Feeling hungry, I went to the food court and got a comforting bowl of hot noodles. It felt wonderful to sit back, enjoy my meal, and watch airplanes take off from the massive glass windows. As I sat there, the reality of the situation finally sank in. I was about to fly. Soon, an announcement called for boarding at my gate. I checked my boarding pass and made my way to the designated gate number. An airline staff member scanned my ticket, and I walked down the jet bridge and finally stepped onto the airplane. I had managed to get a window seat, and I was thrilled. I couldn't wait to see the clouds and the world from above. The aircraft was modern, immaculate, and comfortable. The cabin crew welcomed me with a warm smile, and I quickly located my seat. It was cozy, and the air smelled fresh and clean. I stowed my handbag under the seat in front of me, fastened my seatbelt, and waited for the moment I had been dreaming of: takeoff. The airplane began to move slowly, taxiing towards the runway. My heart was racing. Then the pilot's voice came over the intercom: "Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff." Within seconds, the plane surged forward with incredible force. The ground fell away, and just like that, I was in the sky. I pressed my face against the window. The city below grew smaller and smaller until all I could see was an ocean of fluffy, white clouds. It felt as if I were floating in a dream. I had butterflies in my stomach, but it was the most exhilarating feeling I had ever experienced. As I settled into my seat, I reflected on how just a few hours earlier, I was standing nervously in an airport, and now I was soaring high above the world. Traveling alone for the first time may seem daunting, but believe me, it is one of the most empowering experiences you can have. You learn so much, you meet new people, and you discover a strength and independence within yourself you never knew existed. Welcome to Paris. The moment I stepped out of the airport, a cool breeze greeted my face. The air smelled different, a unique blend of fresh bread, brewing coffee, and something purely magical. Paris possessed a charm, an elegance, and a beauty I had only ever seen in photographs. But now I was finally here. I had planned a 3-day stay and was determined to see as much as possible. So come along and explore Paris with me. The weather was chilly but pleasant, around 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. I put on a light sweater and my jacket. Paris is known for its unpredictable weather, so carrying a jacket and an umbrella is always a smart move. I took a taxi from Charles de Gaulle Airport to my hotel. The ride cost about $55 and took around 45 minutes. Along the way, I gazed out the window at the beautiful Parisian streets, the charming old buildings, and the small cafes filled with people leisurely sipping coffee. I had booked a quaint little hotel near the city center for $120 per night. The absolute best part was its balcony, which offered a direct view of the Eiffel Tower. I quickly checked in, dropped off my bags, and headed right back out. I didn't want to waste a single moment. My first destination was the Pont des Arts, famously known as the Lovelock Bridge. This spot is renowned because couples from all over the world come to write their names on a padlock, attach it to the bridge's railing, and then throw the key into the Seine River as a symbol of their unbreakable love. Even though I was traveling solo, I bought a lock for $5 from a nearby vendor and wrote my name on it. I attached it to the bridge and made a wish for an amazing time in Paris. The view from the bridge was simply breathtaking. The Seine River shimmered in the sunlight, boats drifted by, and people sat along the riverbanks, talking and laughing. I took a few photos before walking towards my next stop, the Louvre Museum. The Louvre is one of the largest and most famous museums in the world, housing over 35,000 works of art. My primary mission, however, was to see the Mona Lisa. The entry ticket cost me $20, which is about 18 euros. The museum itself was a masterpiece of beautiful architecture. Inside, it felt like stepping into another era, with giant paintings, intricate sculptures, and gilded ceilings. After wandering through numerous halls, I finally found her, the Mona Lisa. She was smaller than I had imagined and was protected behind glass, surrounded by a large crowd of admirers. I stood there, gazing at her face, trying to decipher her famous expression. Is she happy or is she sad? It was mesmerizing to see such an iconic piece of art in person. I spent another hour exploring other exhibits before deciding it was time for lunch. I had read about a popular restaurant called Pink Mama, known for its delicious Italian food and stunning interior. I ordered their signature truffle pasta, which was $25, and a refreshing lemonade for $5. The pasta was rich, creamy, and bursting with flavor. The restaurant was beautiful, with large glass windows, pink walls, and lush green plants everywhere. It felt like dining in a cozy, dreamy greenhouse. I savored every bite of my meal, taking my time to enjoy the atmosphere. After lunch, it was time for a childhood dream, Disneyland Paris. Visiting Disneyland felt like stepping right into a fairy tale. A one-day ticket cost me 75 euros, which was about $69. As soon as I entered, I was greeted by the sight of a giant pink castle, Disney characters strolling around, and cheerful music filling the air. I immediately headed for my favorite rides. Space Mountain, a thrilling indoor roller coaster. Pirates of the Caribbean, a boat adventure with pirates and treasure. And It's a Small World, a gentle ride celebrating different cultures. After the rides, I treated myself to a Mickey-shaped ice cream for $7 and a hot dog for $10. but the absolute highlight was the parade. At 5:00 p.m., beloved characters like Mickey, Minnie, and Cinderella danced through the streets on elaborate floats. It was pure magic. Before leaving, I bought a small souvenir, an Eiffel Tower keychain for $10. Next, I visited the Avengers campus, located inside Disneyland. For a Marvel fan like me, this place was a dream come true. I saw Iron Man's suit, watched Spider-Man perform an acrobatic web-swinging show, and even got to meet Captain America. I tried the Spider-Man ride, where you get to shoot virtual webs at moving targets. It was so much fun. After spending a few more hours there, I was exhausted but incredibly happy. It was time to head back to the city to see more of Paris. As the sun began to set, I made my way to the Eiffel Tower. At night, it looked even more spectacular, illuminated by golden lights that made it shine against the dark sky. I found a nearby bench and enjoyed a chocolate crepe for $6. The air was fragrant with the smell of fresh pastries and warm coffee. Then, at 9:00 p.m., something amazing happened. The Eiffel Tower began to sparkle. Thousands of tiny lights flickered all over the structure, and a wave of cheers erupted from the crowd around me. Before calling it a day, I decided on one last activity, a Seine River cruise to see Paris from the water. The ticket was $20 or €18, and the boat featured both an enclosed glass area and open-air seating. As the boat glided along the river, I saw the landmarks of Paris lit up at night. Notre Dame Cathedral, the Louvre, and the Eiffel Tower, all reflecting beautifully in the water. The city looked even more stunning under the stars. I closed my eyes, felt the cool breeze on my face, and thought to myself, this has been the most perfect day of my life. Lying in bed that night, I replayed all the beautiful places I had seen and the memories I had created. Soon, my eyes grew heavy, and I drifted into a deep sleep, dreaming of one more perfect day in the city of love. It was my final day in Paris. I woke up early, feeling a mix of excitement for the day ahead and a touch of sadness, knowing I would soon have to say goodbye to this magical city. But I was determined to make this last day count. I decided to visit a few more places, explore a bit more deeply, and share all the final details with you. My first stop was Canal Saint-Martin. It may not be as famous as the Eiffel Tower or Notre Dame, but it's one of the most charming and authentic spots in Paris. I took a leisurely walk along the canal, watching the boats float by and observing locals enjoying their morning coffee on benches. It was a wonderfully peaceful and relaxing way to soak in the city's atmosphere. I stopped at a small waterside cafe and ordered a pain au chocolat for $3.50 and an espresso for $2.50. The pastry was warm, with melted chocolate oozing out as I took the first bite. It was absolute perfection. As I was walking, I heard someone call my name. I turned around and, to my surprise, saw my friend Sarah. It turned out she was also vacationing in Paris. We were both thrilled by the coincidence, and I was happy to have a companion for my last day of exploration. We decided to head to Le Marais, a trendy neighborhood known for its beautiful boutiques, art galleries, and incredible food. We stopped at a small market and bought some cheese for $5, charcuterie for $7, and fresh fruit for $3. Then we found our way to the Place des Vosges, one of the oldest and most beautiful squares in Paris, to have a small picnic. We sat on a bench, enjoying the food, talking about our travels and laughing. Sarah told me a hilarious story about getting lost in Rome, and we both agreed that the unexpected moments and the people you meet are what make travel so special. After our picnic, Sarah and I decided to explore the Latin Quarter, one of the most historic neighborhoods in Paris. We wandered through its narrow, winding streets, passing by old bookshops, street performers, and bustling cafes. The area was full of life and energy, yet it retained a quiet, intellectual charm. We visited the Pantheon, a magnificent monument honoring some of France's greatest minds, like Voltaire and Rousseau. The entrance fee was about $12, but it was well worth it to see the stunning architecture and learn about France's rich history. Afterward, we visited Shakespeare and Company, a legendary English-language bookstore. I bought a book on Parisian history for $15 as a souvenir and spent some time browsing the packed shelves. One of my final stops was the Luxembourg Gardens, a breathtaking park filled with fountains, statues, and lush greenery. The sun was shining, and the park was alive with people walking, reading, and simply relaxing. I found a seat by one of the large fountains and watched children sail miniature boats on the small pond. The Luxembourg Gardens are renowned as a perfect place to unwind and absorb the peace and beauty of Paris. It was a serene and magical moment that I will always cherish. As evening approached, I wanted one last, unforgettable view of the city. So, Sarah and I took a final walk along the banks of the Seine River as the sun began to set. We found a spot near the Eiffel Tower and watched as the sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink. The city lights began to twinkle on, and the river reflected the glowing cityscape. It was the perfect, romantic end to my Parisian adventure. As I headed back to my hotel later that evening, I couldn't help but reflect on my incredible journey. Paris had been everything I had dreamed of and so much more. It was a city that welcomed me with open arms, a city full of history, art, food, and adventure. Every single moment, from my picnic in the square to my final sunset walk along the Seine, felt like a scene from a movie. I had learned so much, not just about Paris, but about myself. This trip taught me the importance of stepping outside my comfort zone and embracing new experiences. It was a powerful reminder that the world is filled with incredible places, people, and stories just waiting to be discovered. As I packed my bags and prepared for my journey home, I realized that this trip to Paris was only the beginning. There are so many more places I want to see, so many more cultures I want to experience. And I know that I will continue to learn, grow, and be inspired by the world around me. To everyone listening to this story, I want to leave you with this thought. Don't wait for the perfect time to travel. If there's a place you dream of visiting, take that first step to make it happen. The world is full of adventures waiting for you, and the memories you create along the way will last a lifetime. Travel doesn't just open your eyes to new places, it opens your heart to new possibilities. So, pack your bags, step out of your comfort zone, and start turning your dreams into reality. Thank you so much for joining me on this unforgettable journey through Paris. I hope you felt like you were right there with me, experiencing it all. Remember, the world is waiting for you.